welcome to the Dearly Debated podcast. In the left corner, it's your boy, Greg Fairy Dust Prince. And in the right corner, it's your other boy, Lee. What? I didn't forget your name. It's your other boy.
He's a lost person.
You forgot my name.
Liam Lost Boy Maxwell.
Liam Lost Person Maxwell.
And I am your host. If I can find the right camera angle. Yar! There she blows.
He's
I
literally
am
a pirate.
Nathanael the Dread Pirate Levinson. Avast!
Nathaniel forgot my name.
Captain No Hook.
Nathaniel forgot my name.
No.
We've been
I
friends for
didn't
years.
forget your name. But what happened was I have trouble multitasking. So I was like looking around,
Being friends
trying
for
to figure out
years
what buttons I had to
might
press,
be a
and my
little bit
brain,
overstated.
Years.
my brain paused.
Decades.
He's known
brain
you
paused.
since
We grew
you
up
were
together.
a little scurving cur.
We grew up together. And he forgot my name. It's unbelievable.
I don't know what to tell you. I actually need to take this eye patch off because I can't see the cameras.
Yes,
Captain Hook
please
wear an
take
eye patch?
the eye patch off.
No, he does
No,
not.
he
But
does
I'm
not.
gonna keep the tricord on.
Why not?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. We have an exciting show for you today. Today we get to talk about a lot of cool things and a lot of not cool things. Some not cool things. Mostly not cool things. Some really cool things.
I would argue that we have some really bad things to talk about, and Liam might make us all angry again.
I don't know.
Liam has warned us that he has, in his words, an egregious take coming. But today we will be talking about Neverland. Neverland, the land of Peter Pan. We'll be talking about both the original Peter Pan and the live-action remake named Peter Pan and Wendy, which
The one
came
that
out,
just came out.
very recently. We watched them both. We have thoughts. We have takes. But
always do.
Before then, if you are watching on YouTube now and you're wondering why, hey, I can't make a comment, you have to subscribe to the channel. So if you're tuning in, please hit that subscribe button and let us know your thoughts. We like to interact a lot with our fans, our audience. So talk to us. Let us know your thoughts. Tell us when we're being stupid. Tell Liam mostly when he's being.
I think I've
so
won
apparently my hot take from Beauty and the Beast
This is
got people mad.
Gain some traction.
And the worst part is people are yelling at me for something that Greg said. If you go back and watch the clip, I'm hesitating, like trying to find the appropriate
You're
words
trying to be
say.
politically
I'm
correct.
I'm just trying to be.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be.
PC. Just say it.
No,
You're trying to be
diplomatic.
woke.
I'm trying to be diplomatic about it.
okay. Well,
And then Greg's like, male gaze.
She's ugly. She's
ugly.
ugly.
okay. When you open up,
Greg jumps in and is like, I hate women.
the YouTube
I'm like, whoa.
reel is just the hot take of me and Nathaniel saying that we didn't think that Emma Watson was the best Belle for reasons that we thought that she should have been a stunning beauty, and we thought that Emma Watson was more of a plain Jane in that movie. That was the take, and
Sure,
more
man.
and sugar coated.
Sure, man.
And so we cut out that take. We made it a YouTube reel, and it got like a couple
It's like
thousand
100,000 views.
And
Yeah, it was like 8 billion
it's
views.
the most
Every
grossing,
single person on Earth.
It's the most grossing YouTube reel in the history of YouTube. And
I get stopped in the streets, and people are like, dude, what is wrong with those other two guys? These are people I've never met.
Just a bunch
I'm
of
like,
women
yeah, I
stop
know.
and they thank Liam every time they see him. And Nathaniel and I, well, actually not me, because I wasn't even, we didn't show my camera angle. So you just see Nathaniel.
Some like random person commented on it and was like, "You look like an elderly baby," and I was like, "What babies are you seeing that have beards this long,
You
lady?"
should have just been like, like babies are cute. Emma Watson's not.
Okay. Again,
Just double down.
I feel like I need to just like
gotta lean
go back
into
over
it.
that take. And again, I think I said this better off air to Greg later. Was like,
We both said it on air. Fine.
Yeah,
we
but
both
no,
corrected
but-
ourselves.
okay.
We're like, neither of us are saying that she's not beautiful.
we're not
she's
saying
far
she's
more beautiful
ugly.
than all of us.
You guys
She's
edited
very-
the clip, though,
No,
to not put that
That
in.
was my fault.
You guys did that.
No, Greg
You guys
did that.
edited it.
Greg
I
did that.
edited the clip.
I just-
I still think it's a funny little clip.
It's a pretty funny clip.
It's very
But
funny.
I just think she. Here's my final take, and I'm never going to talk about it again. She looks like your sister.
He means
Right?
by
By
your
which I
sister,
mean-
he means his sister. Like he means like, yeah.
No. I mean, like, if you have a sister,
Yes.
you're not romantically attracted to your sister, or you shouldn't.
You can
be,
recognize that she's
right?
beautiful.
You can recognize she's good looking, but you're just like, no,
Right.
not my.
I think Emma Watson falls in
But
that category.
that's what I'm saying.
Are we just
I'm going to acknowledge that she's good looking, but
No, wrong.
This is like
You're
our
wrong.
entire YouTube channel is just gonna be Emma Watson takes. Like,
We're gonna be on episode
saying
episode 100, still referencing Emma Watson in Beauty and the Beast.
This is the greatest thing ever.
Anyway,
Anyways,
I win. First of all, before we get into Peter Pan, I won that, and I won the
Hearts of
you
America.
definitely
I won
did
the
not
Lion
win
King
whatever
take.
else you're. No,
I won the
you
Lion
did
King
not.
take.
Woof.
I
Let me
I
tell
won.
ya. Woof.
I won. So,
Okay. Well, we're talking about neither of those things today. Today, we'll be talking about Peter Pan. And we're going to start off by talking about the original. So, Liam, tell me about this. Is one of the first time you've seen it. You might have seen it when you were a kid, a long time ago, but
yeah.
very, very new to it. Well, I guess before then, I'll kind of give the synopsis. That's
it.
kind of the way we do things. So, Peter Pan, very old. It's based off an old folk tale.
just to clarify, Peter Pan's not very old. The story is.
Okay, very true,
Never grows
actually. So Peter Pan takes place in London. There's a small family. There are two boys and a girl. The girl is a little bit older, a little bit more mature.
The girl.
And they are all very playful children, and she's being encouraged by her parents, primarily her dad, to grow up a little bit. That's the last night that she's going to be spending in the nursery. She's a little sad about that. And they keep telling tales about Peter Pan, who's a fictional character, they think. Peter Pan shows up that night to get his shadow back, which he lost there. He gets the shadow and tells the kids, hey, I'm going to take you guys to Neverland, where I'm from. So the three of them head off to Neverland. They do a whole bunch of really fun kid things. They fight pirates.
Some racism.
There's definitely some racial insensitivity. Certainly, there is a bunch of Native Americans depicted as red people, and they're just called the red men.
It is not just one scene either. It's like actually a lot of the movie. It felt like.
Yeah, it definitely like there was nothing like there wasn't negative stereotypes as far as like they're dumb or they're anything like that. It wasn't like putting them down in any way, but it was very much like these are the Indians and
They were
red.
kind of caricatures
Yeah, definitely.
of Indians.
I honestly think that the offensiveness is less in what they did and more just literally just how they're drawn.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's fair.
it's just very. It's how you'd picture.
Like an old
the Atlanta
World War II
Braves
propaganda
logo
cartoon.
if it actually had a full body walking around.
Yeah.
So it was just very stereotypical. So there's a lot of that, but it's done under the guise of this kind of play imaginary land where you can be whatever you want. Like a kid wants to be an Indian or be a pirate or swim with mermaids or fight whoever. So Peter Pan takes them there. The pirates immediately start fighting them. They meet the Lost Boys, which are just kind of like Peter Pan's little gang. He introduces them all to them, and then Wendy, the girl, starts to feud with Tinkerbell, which is Peter Pan's little pixie who follows him around.
Tinkerbell started it, 100%.
Yeah, Tinkerbell is definitely super jealous and starts setting Wendy up on all these things, tries to get her killed, some serious stuff. And then Peter Pan gets mad at her. They kind of fight. Captain Hook, who's the main bad guy, he's the main baddie, head of the pirates, finds out. And then he goes and finds Tinkerbell and basically, tells her, hey, this is all going to be fine as long as we get rid of this Wendy girl, right? And Tinkerbell's like, yeah, that sounds good. Tricks her into finding out where Pan lives, gives Pan a bomb, and captures all the Lost Boys and the children that came from London, which are John, Michael, and Wendy. It's the end of the movie. He's like, hey, join the pirates or jump off the boat, which there's a really funny fan fiction theory on that, which is pretty entertaining, although it has some holes in it. I'll talk about later. Peter Pan ends up getting away from the bomb thanks to Tinkerbell, who almost kills herself and getting the bomb away. He comes back, rescues everybody, rescues the kids, knocks Captain Hook off the boat, who gets chased by the crocodile that has the alarm clock in his belly. And then they sail back to London, where he drops the kids back off, and they're able to grow up. The whole idea is that in Neverland, you don't grow up, and these are all children, and they continue to be young there. And that's the premise of the movie. So, Liam, let's hear it. So you watched that for the first time in a long time, at least. Maybe
it might have been the first time ever straight through. Didn't like it.
Didn't like it.
Didn't like it. And I'll tell you why.
All right.
Because we have a podcast We want to get into it.
I would really like to know why.
So,
I'm asking you.
I compared it to the past movies we've watched, and I didn't like it, and I was like, well, why didn't I like it? The music is pretty much irrelevant in my opinion. There's no like full length songs, unless I'm incorrect. There's more like ditties, right? And I've found that in the past movies we've watched, that's like kind of my favorite part of the movie is the music. And we've watched some movies with some really good songs. Yeah. That was the first part. I was like, well, those scenes are out of it.
Especially out of the 3 that we've watched so far.
Yeah.
Certainly would agree that the less there aren't any really
I can't identify with any song that I remember. Yeah. Oh ho, that's no way.
What are you saying?
I know what
Liam clearly
I literally don't remember a single
talking about
ditty. He's talking about the pirate shanty they're singing right at the beginning, which is the best song, and it's kind of forgettable.
And it's like not very long either. Anyway, that was my main complaint.
With the guy that has the accordion, he's like, a pirate's life.
Yeah. Whatever. Okay.
That part was funny.
Also, there was no one I was rooting for in that movie. Peter Pan, kind of a dick, okay? I don't like Peter Pan. Okay. I didn't relate to him in any way. He was kind of rude and off-putting.
Would you say that he was kind of like childish?
Yes, he was. But not in an endearing way whatsoever, though. Am I wrong? There was nothing endearing about Peter Pan.
I don't even necessarily know if he's supposed to be endearing, but I think childish hits it on the head.
I actually viewed him, and this is part of my half-ass research, I viewed him as the villain in the movie.
Is this the theory that is
No, okay. I got more egregious takes coming up.
Okay.
He's kind of the villain. He's
a kid, right?
Yeah.
He's acting like a kid. That's pretty accurate to what the movie's depicting.
But yeah, that's my take on that. Even Wendy, I was like, whatever. I didn't relate to any of the themes in the movie as well. Compared to the past movies we've watched.
Yeah.
Love, beautiful love stories. Lion King has so much great stuff as far as like denial of what you're truly meant to be, coming back to it, facing your fears, fatherhood. There's nothing in Peter Pan that I related to or felt emotional in any way.
So
this is for both of them. The live action, we can get into that later. But I'm just saying, typically what we found is the originals are better, and I didn't even like this original.
So it doesn't even fall into the realm of like you liked the other ones we've watched better. It's like you don't like this.
I don't like the movie.
Okay.
And if we're talking rankings, which we're going to do at some point, both of these Peter Pan movies, bottom of the barrel, below everything else.
Even the live actions?
Even the live actions.
Oh, goodness.
The Peter Pan animated is below all of the live actions we've seen so far.
Oh, Liam.
Yeah. And that's not even my most egregious take on this podcast.
Like so far? Because we know that. You've had
No,
worse.
there's more coming up that I think you guys might tend to agree with me. I knew that part. You might not agree with me as much as far as the original.
It's not even that I think all those takes are valid. I just think that there's a really deep, rich theme to that movie.
Go ahead.
I want to hear what Nathanael had to say because he watched it with us.
Change my mind.
We watched this together. The three of us watched it together.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know what you thought, Nathanael. Because is this the first time you'd seen it in a very long time?
Yeah, I hadn't seen it in a while. So I have a hot take.
Okay.
I mostly agree with Liam.
Oh man!
So
I win again.
Got to be on an island.
So watching
myself.
I don't hate it, but it's definitely not a movie I would go back to often. To Liam's point, the music is kind of not there in a way that it was in the other movies.
Yeah, I agree.
But really, for me, it's just I don't find I get that the bigger theme of the story is that you have to grow up. I get that, and I think Wendy is a good character. But honestly, the whole movie, and I understand this is intentional, right? So similarly to The Little Mermaid is clearly aimed at young girls, right?
Sure.
This movie is aimed at like little kids, and it just doesn't do anything for me. So the idea I understand that theme
I
of
can agree that
having to grow up, having to put childish things behind you, but I've done that. I'm an adult now.
Right.
We're on a podcast.
We
are
it.
adults.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Unlike movies like The Lion King, which has themes of love and responsibility, and Beauty and the Beast, which has themes of love and sacrifice, which obviously are still really relevant to my life as I'm living it now. I don't think there's anything in Peter Pan that really resonates with me on that same level. I don't think it's bad. I would put it at the bottom of the animated movies for sure.
Right.
Like no doubt in my mind it's at the bottom of the animated movies. I'd still put it above all of the live actions, and here's why. It's only an hour and a half long. It's really short.
It's not even. It's an hour and 20.
It's like an hour and 20 minutes. It's really short. So if you just think about it like, oh, you're just watching a goofy cartoon, I think it's I'd rather watch that than watch any of the live actions again.
Yeah.
But I'm with Liam. I think it's very clearly below, like a different grade below everything else we've watched so far.
I think that's a great point, Nathaniel, is that the other movies we watched, even as adults, we could take some really powerful, there's some really powerful takeaways, even as an adult, that you can translate to your life. Peter Pan, there's nothing like that. Like, I mean, even when I was a kid, sure, there's the nostalgia element of being a kid, but I was ready to grow up. I was excited to grow up. When I was a kid, I wasn't really like, oh man, I really got to grow up. That might be a personal thing, but even when I was a kid, if I watched this when I was younger, I probably still wouldn't be able to take a whole lot from it.
Well, I mean, listen, I agree wholeheartedly with the emotional beats, and I think with a lack of music, you're going to get less of that. Like lots of times songs carry those emotional beats home. Mm-hmm. You can communicate a lot of feeling in the songs of a movie. And so if you don't have a whole lot of bangers, like there weren't a whole lot of, I mean, there's the think of a wonderful thought, any happy, like there's some classics in there.
I don't remember.
There's some classics
that's
in
the
there.
one they're doing. Oh, You Can Fly.
Think of, you can fly, you can fly.
That's
whatever.
the only part that sticks for me.
Okay, like there's some classics in there.
Even that, like to Liam's point, that's like a ditty that plays when they're learning to fly.
And I am agreeing with you guys. I don't think it was worse than any of the live actions, not just because of the time, but just like you can just see the separation in this one. I know you think both of these are bad, but the live action one we're going to get there, but it is awful. So in all of these Disney classics, I guess I should hesitate to say all because I haven't seen them all yet, but most all of them I'm going to assume have kind of like your general childish theme that you can follow. You have characters to laugh at, and you have the story, which is, whatever character A is scared or is nervous, and then he overcomes his fear, and story's over. And that's just kind of like the general theme for like a child. But the amazing thing about him, and the thing we've been enjoying kind of diving into, are the deeper themes in each of these movies. And you still get that in Peter Pan. Yes, I agreed. Like the emotional gripping of it is just not there. Like even for me, I'm with you guys. There wasn't. I mean, I was like emotional in Beauty and the Beast, right? Because of the relation you can have with certain characters. Whereas this one was more of like, it felt more like a tale. It felt more like, wow, like that is but there was a lot of richness to it. So, I mean, the whole thing is about childhood, right? So it's about kids and like Peter Pan is like the perfect kid. Like his potential is limitless, which is everybody as a kid. Like when you're a child, your potential could be anything. You could be anything you want. Mm-hmm. And that's exciting and that's fun. And there's not a whole lot of consequences to your actions. And even the way you treat your friends as like, you're banished forever. Well, whatever, you're banished for a week. Like that's what it's like as a kid. And especially Peter Pan, right? Who lives in Neverland, who's the one adult in Neverland.
Is he?
Who is the
Captain
one adult?
Hook.
Oh,
yes, Captain Hook.
It sounded like you said Peter Pan, who is the one adult in Neverland. I was
No,
like, wait a minute.
but sure.
But his one example of an adult is Captain Hook, right?
And Shmi.
And,
Mr.
the pirates
Schmee.
in
Okay,
general. But
I need to pause for a second, and I just want to evaluate this. So the whole reason that that Hook's ship is in the island is because Hook is mad at Peter Pan for cutting off his arm, feeding it to a crocodile, right?
Yes.
And so that's why he just wants revenge on Peter Pan. And the rest of the pirates are like, we want to go back to pirating, which is what we were good at.
Right.
And they keep talking about going to the Spanish Main. So is Neverland off the coast of, like, is it
a
in
real
the
place.
Caribbean?
I'm sure it's like it's supposed to all be in the same area.
Sure, but like Neverland, you like fly to the furthest star on the right or whatever. Miss Left Turn in Albuquerque, but
I think the role that Captain Hook plays in Peter Pan's life is to be the adult and to show the unappealingness of what it would look like to grow up, right? So he doesn't want to grow up because that's his example of what an adult is. It's he's a tyrant, and he's got a hook for a hand, and he's constantly chased by what?
Crocodile.
By time. The crocodile's a representation of time. That's why there's always a clock inside of him. And so he's perpetually chased by it, and he's already lost his hand to it, and eventually it's going to get all of them. So eventually he's going to be devoured by time, and this is what Peter Pan sees. Like this is his only outlet. And it's kind of like a message to bad parenting, right? Like when you do have bad examples around you, this is why you grow up more like a child, and like you don't mature as quickly because you don't have good role models at all. And so these kids who are injected into the scene are enjoying childhood, but the one child who's older than the others and purposefully is like the only girl character because girls mature quicker than boys, light bulb should be going off in your head. This is why they're the lost boys. And she represents motherhood. And so she brings that in as the one person who's on that cusp of growing up and realizes, oh, like this is very fun and intriguing, but like you have to choose, right? Like right now your potential is limitless because you're a child and you could be anything you want. And yes, it is scary to eliminate those options, right? Like when you were a kid, how many sports did you play?
A bunch.
Right.
Yeah, like all of them.
But when you got older, what'd you do?
Funneled down to a couple
To
and then
volleyball.
to one. Yeah.
Right. And as a kid, that might seem upsetting. If you were just a kid and you're like, hey, you've got to stop playing all your sports and just pick one, you'd be sad.
Perhaps.
No
But as
more
a-
cricket.
But as an
No
adult,
more high
as an adult, you grow and you mature and you realize that making your own choice in that matter is great, because if you don't make a choice, the choice is going to be made for you. You're just going to stop playing sports, or you're just going to end up a tyrant yourself. And so you have to make a hard choice to eventually get a result that's not bad. And this is what Wendy's trying to communicate, that she's like, okay, no, like that's like all these growing up terms you guys are talking about aren't true. Like a mother is beautiful, and I'll tell you all about it because she is a good example of a parent. And even the father you see, who is kind of mirroring Captain Hook, but in the real world actually does love his kids, and he's like very sympathetic, and it's an older school representation of like the mother being the caring, nurturing figure, whereas the father is kind of like, from the child's perspective, is a little bit more of like kind of close to a tyrant. But you really see that he's not. He's actually a good dad. And at the end, he's actually even reminded of his childhood when he sees the ship outside, that he's like, man, that seems so long ago, but like that reminds me of something like that I've almost forgotten.
And I think it's for the dad. It's honestly less like, also the dad was Alan Tudyk in the live action.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we're gonna get to that. The dad is just he's the kids are trying to get him to engage on their level, and he's just not willing to do that.
Right.
Because he's very much right. I don't know if tyrannical is the word, but he's divorced
he's not.
himself from his youthfulness because and everyone grows. They realize that they have to grow up, and he realizes that it's okay to indulge in these childish things to some degree.
Right.
So the dad actually has a good character arc,
Yeah.
even though it's small. He actually has a good character arc.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Yeah, he goes from ignoring it, in the young kids where he's just walking around them, to having to give Wendy some tough love and saying, hey, like, you've got to grow up. And he even tells Nana when he brings her downstairs, which is a great little scene where he's tying her up and she's all sad and he's looking for the rope to tie her, and she hands it to him. And he's just like, hey, don't look at me like that. He's like, it just happens, like you're not really a nanny, you're a dog. He's like, oh, it's great to pretend. And he's like, and she just has to grow up sometime. And that's the truth. Like the whole entire.
That Nana was a really good nurse. So if it's just like a normal dog that's just like barking,
Was that all
there,
pretend?
Yeah, but like Nana was legitimately doing the actual job of taking, like, she was pouring out the drugs and whatever and all that stuff. So I think Nana had it licked.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just thought there were some really creative themes, at least that I caught on to when I was watching, of just what it was like to be a kid. And honestly, I think that we've probably, all three of us, though we are sitting here in goofy shirts talking about Disney movies.
Excuse me.
We all kind of have.
My shirt is functional.
I think we all, for the most part, have grown up and kind of taken those steps to where we look at that and we're like, oh, that's just childish and not fun. And I think there probably are a lot of adults out there who are still reluctant to make that decision, and they're keeping their limitless potential open, but they're 35, and at that point,
Well-
what is limitless potential? You're
Well-
just a person who hasn't really taken a direction.
Well, I want to
Sad.
push back on that a little bit. And so it's about, right, the end of the movie is really about finding the balance between engaging in that childlike wonder and taking personal responsibility and growing up. And I'm going to kind of jump in with what Liam was saying. I think Peter Pan is not the villain, but he's also not the hero. The hero of the
Definitely not
story
the hero.
is Wendy.
Yeah.
Peter Pan is what happens when you choose
Right.
to not grow up completely.
Right.
And he's kind of, like you said, he's a dick.
Yeah.
He's kind of a terrible person. He's completely selfish, completely whimsical, completely capricious. He's almost like a Greek deity.
Yeah.
He's just like, whatever whim moves him, he does that. And he's generally honorable, but also just completely just wants his own way. Right?
Chicks love him though.
I don't even think
Chicks
it's
love a
that he's
bad boy.
honorable at all. I mean, I think
A little bit, because he is protective of Tinkerbell and of Wendy, but
Sure.
he's still he's very self-driven, and it's all about him having fun.
right.
And again, Hook and the Dad are kind of the opposite of like very stern, no fun, and it's about no, I don't want to be that, but also I can't stay this. I keep putting my hand in the camera.
But I guess my point would be, why is it then? And I'm looking for a specific answer. Why is it then that he can act like that, and you're like, oh, like that's that, like he's still kind of like he's Peter Pan. He's the reason for the movie, although we can identify that he's a dick. And then Captain Hook does that, and he's the villain. What separates them? What's different between them?
Hook's a pirate.
Hook's a what?
Pirate.
As far as a
You
human
expect
being.
certain behavior from
Hook
pirates.
is a white male.
He's
That's the
an
problem.
adult, and Peter Pan's a kid.
Right, but see, the thing is, and again, this is me not putting myself in the mindset of a child. From a child's
Sure.
perspective, obviously, you want to be on Peter Pan's side. But then again, we're kind of taking a more grown up look at these things and saying, oh, if I was in Peter Pan company, I would smack the shit out of him.
Yeah, I'd
He's
be
a
more
brat.
annoyed by Peter Pan
Right,
than if I
okay.
was a pirate
Sure.
working for Captain Hook.
So there's an adult who's trying to kill somebody, and then there's a kid who is leading like a silly rebellion with his friends with a bunch of sticks.
And also,
The kid's obviously annoying.
Also,
he's doing the same exact things
excuse
as the
me,
pirates.
You're forgetting something. He also cut off Hook's hand and is literally trying to feed him to a crocodile.
I'm Team Hook.
He's not.
I'm Team Hook,
He's not.
baby.
I'm Team Hook. I'm with Liam on
Team
this one.
Hook, baby.
I'm Team Hook.
I think the kind of dichotomy they're making between the juxtaposition. Sorry, that was the word I'm looking for. Between
Yes.
the two is that they're kind of doing the same thing, but you have more sympathy for Peter Pan because he's a kid, and this is I'm not defending Peter Pan. Like, I think that he's doing the same things intentionally in the movie. I think the reason you're like, oh, like he's clearly the good guy and he's the bad guy is because one of them is a grown up and you expect more of that.
Mm-hmm.
You say, okay, you should know better. You should be out of here. Like, this is clearly a kid acting like a kid, and yes, he is a selfish kid because he's a kid. He's not like it's honestly a more accurate representation of children as Peter Pan.
That's fair. And you know what? In the original, Hook is kind of just bad guy classic.
Yeah.
In the remake,
Oh gosh, let's not even get like that is it is in
Completely
no way
changes
the
the
same
flavor.
story.
It's actually the most different story comparing the two
I
that
agree.
we've done so
I
far,
agree.
and I would be
It-
surprised if there's anything.
It got me
That's more different.
kind of to the point where I was like, was this considered a remake because it's Pan and Wendy? Like, should we have included this? I had all
It
kinds
was
of
intent.
reservation.
Again, we're the criteria that I chose, because this was my idea, but the criteria I chose.
This whole idea was your
was my
idea.
idea. I might have that on here. The criteria was exactly the deliberate nostalgia baiting remakes.
Right.
So Maleficent would not fall into that category because that was like a deliberate spin-off story.
Right.
And Snow White and the
And
Huntsman.
Snow White
is
and
just
the
a
Cruella de
Huntsman
Vil,
again.
et cetera.
Oh, however, the new Snow White, Snow White.
Oh, boy.
Sorry, Snow Latina, and the
And
seven
seven-
individuals,
seven.
the seven
people.
It's not even the seven men. It's that one of them was a woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think maybe more than one. But in that case, some of the
and
lost
the seven
boys
Renaissance
were girls.
fair and the seven people who got lost on the way to the Ren Fest.
There we go.
That's literally what it looks like, that picture. So that's like,
Roll
again,
credits.
it's a direct remake. It doesn't necessarily need to be exactly, because Mulan is not shot for shot remake.
Yeah,
In
Mulan
fact, they changed,
will be the most different.
They
in my
changed it
Really?
even more.
I
yeah.
haven't seen it, but I know it's going to be the most.
I've seen it. I'll tell you, they fundamentally change the entire story.
I mean,
So-
this is up there as far as changing the thematical elements. What were you saying, Nathaniel? Sorry, before.
Sorry, what
you were
I
saying
was saying,
Peter Pan.
Yeah,
Are you
Peter
saying-
Pan and Wendy is that remake of the original animated movie with the intention of
Yeah.
updating it for modern audiences, which basically means that term, updated for modern audiences, means we don't know what we're doing, we're incompetent,
It's
and
bad.
this is going to be bad.
I guess my point to you guys, though, before we leave the original, is that I don't think Peter Pan is supposed to necessarily be super appealing to. I mean, kids, yes. Kids are just going to watch that and they're going to laugh when he's like tricking Captain Hook and he's stabbing him in the butt and he's like slicing his hat off and it's implied that he cut his hand off and threw it to the crocodile, but you also he never takes any real damage. He falls in the crocodile's mouth, but also the crocodile's a representation of time. So this is Peter Pan literally like pushing Captain Hook out of Neverland by saying you're too old. Like let time take you almost. And it's also Peter Pan's reluctance to grow up himself because he sees that as just such a failure.
Well, why is he pushing Captain Hook towards that, but he's like not like internally looking at himself?
Well, but like he is a child and he's playing a game where the pirates and the Lost Boys are fighting, and that's just what he's doing, and he always wins because he's a child in an imaginary world. He controls everything. I mean, think about Tinkerbell. Right now, Tinkerbell is his only possibility of love. Mm-hmm. Right, it's the only, and this is done intentionally. But Tinkerbell's what? She's a fairy.
Yeah.
She's not real.
Be tough to procreate.
She's made up, and she's made to be beautiful.
I'm sorry, Liam.
But it's like,
You want to explain yourself?
I'm just saying it'd be tough to procreate.
oh come on.
What? It would be. It's the basis of love.
I think that she more so represents like again an inability to grow up, almost like, not to be too crass, to be like she's like the representation of like porn, like right where it's beautiful and you always have it, but it's never going to turn into anything.
I don't know about that. I think I would just
By
say
beautiful, I mean a really destructive thing, but I mean it's enticing
Beautiful.
to like
Clip
to a
that
young
one.
boy.
So what Greg is saying is that Tinkerbell is truly the Emma Watson of Peter Pan.
It all comes full circle with you, Greg, doesn't it?
We got him, Archie.
How did you guys make that? Not in any way what I was saying.
Yeah, no, that tracks.
No, but
Wait.
I think Tinkerbell represents magic because kids will still believe in magic.
Yeah.
Because they're not old enough to understand that that's not how the world works.
Yeah, but
so I
there's-
think Tinkerbell literally just represents magic. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, Greg. Not everything's porn.
But my point being is there's a very clear feud, at least what I picked up when I watched it, is there's a very clear feud between her and Wendy, right, as being the only two girls.
Yeah.
And so you have Pan, who is reluctant to leave his fantasy land, and he's also a child. He has no ability to love, and he doesn't have those feelings like Wendy does. And Wendy even expresses that a little bit in the sense of like, oh, let me give you a kiss, and he doesn't know what it is, and he's so naive and childish. But he has his one fairy friend who's just like, well, this will sustain me, and this is like my connection to some kind of love, and this thing is going to feud with any kind of future, actual potential of love or actual like potential of growing in any way. And so again, he's left with a choice, and he doesn't choose it. Eventually, he goes back to Neverland because that's the story. He lives in Neverland. But I think as an adult, you can watch that and see what a reluctant child really is, and see like this is where you were, and you had to grow out of that. And again, like I said, I don't think we necessarily relate with it too much because we've all been in healthy situations where we've probably grown out of childhood in one way or another, to where now we watch it. We're like, hey,
Do you see my beard?
he's
I've clearly grown out of childhood.
Not
Then-
according
then
to
it- yeah,
I
not
Am
according-
Jessica. 2020. Is she watching?
I'm guessing she's blind. So
I Am Jessica watching.
Apparently, you look like a grown child. No, I agree.
What's up, Marco?
I think that the emotional beats definitely weren't there, and pretty much at any point. I think we've done well to not mention the engines.
well, and the other thing
engines.
is like they don't impact the plot that much.
No, they don't.
They don't impact the. It's just so the thing is like the plot it's just like and this is gonna sound really weird. It's just a bunch of things that happen.
Yeah, kind of.
It's just kind of like it's almost like pastiche. I think I'm using that. I get some things mixed up. Pastiche, where it's just like a bunch of different things. I don't know if I'm using the right word for that.
And I think some of that is again, it's it's probably gonna be. I don't know if we're gonna do Alice in Wonderland, but it's probably gonna have a similar.
No, I'm not using that word correctly.
To a lot of the scenes just for the purpose of being like, this is what a child's imagination might look like. And so you
vignettes. I think that's the word I'm looking for. It's like little vignettes, like little sketches.
Sure.
It's just like a bunch of little sketches that kind of string together this thing.
And there's like
the
through
beginning.
line.
Yeah, the through line is the beginning where they go to Neverland, and the conclusion where they come back from Neverland. And then there's just like a bunch of stuff in the middle that kind of shows you the different parts of Neverland.
Right.
But they're not necessarily all connect. I mean, they are, but they aren't.
I think my takeaway when I was thinking about it, I was like, I think if I just read this as a book, it would be up there with all the other ones. If I just read The Lion King, if I just read this as a picture book, I'd be like, oh, like there are some really cool themes out of that, but I could have gotten that out of a book, and the movie itself didn't add much because the emotion, I think in a movie you have things like emotion, you have things like music that can communicate on a different level than books can. Not that books can't on an emotional level, but it's harder. I will say the physical comedy with Captain Hook was pretty funny. I think the comedy in general, like Shmi and Captain Hook, I think I was giggling most scenes they were in. Yeah. Just the voice acting and the animation of just.
Shmi carries the original, in my opinion.
I mean, it's like, well, I think
Shmi's a great
Hook
character and just
carries like where like the whole scene where he's like, "What are you doing?" "Well, I'm taking it back, Captain." And he's just like, "I said nothing of the sort." And he's going in and out of the cave trying to decide whether
when he's shaving the duck's butt. That's good. That's good stuff.
You need a shave.
It started out hot. I was like, maybe I'll like this.
It is a very funny like their comedy is hysterical. Like even just watching the scenes of him like swimming out of the cave and looking back, and he hits like the roof of the cave, like and the crocodile's just constantly like bouncing him off the water. He's like.
Yeah. Oh, and the scream like cuts out every time he which makes no sense, but
skipping along
really
the water
well
and they're like going so fast in the boat that they're like lifting over the water and then down and over the water and down, and he just skips underneath them.
Yeah, the animation is good. The animation's quite good.
I will say,
was this 1950? What was the year? This was
I believe
older
it was like
than
the
other ones we reviewed. Correct?
Yes,
Like significantly older.
This is
You
the
could
oldest
tell.
one for sure out of the four.
And you know I hate old movies.
Yeah, Liam.
Yeah, Liam.
Maybe that was it.
Liam is Peter Pan, so
It
he can't
felt
deal with old
old.
movies.
It didn't it feel old?
Well, I mean, the
it
music,
felt
the music
older.
style,
the music
definitely
style
feels
is definitely
Yeah.
old, but it also just the animation looked a little older.
Yeah. Might as well have been black and white.
But
Yeah, 1953.
and I think I'd agree. Like if it's more comedy heavy and less emotionally beats heavy, then I think it is geared for younger audience. So
which
watching
is
it,
fine. That doesn't make it
Yeah,
a bad movie.
I don't think
just
it makes
means
it a bad
doesn't
movie at
resonate
all.
like the other ones do.
And so I'm probably, again, rankings, not to I think it'd probably be the lowest out of the four Disney movies I've watched, but like not even close to getting in the realm of the live actions.
Any of them.
And no, like I would not go and see The Little Mermaid live action over watching Peter Pan. Like you could watch Peter Pan right now and probably dig more out of the themes.
I would agree, but that's just because of length. If they were both the same length, I'd probably see
has a lot to do with it.
the Little Mermaid live action.
Okay, that has a lot to do with it, but also like you don't think that like you could just dig some more theme. Like I guess that's when I watch a movie, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the storyteller to communicate something.
Maybe
to
it's
me.
my pea brain, but I'm looking for songs and funny.
Okay, but and here's the other thing. Here's the other thing.
It might be my pea brain. Okay,
Next one,
why
next
Peter
one.
Pan so dumb and mean?
Are you? We can't do that. That's
But
racist.
here's the other
We can
one.
do that.
No, you can't do that. Come on.
Something racial about that.
What makes
Although the one thing I do want to say, without getting controversial, the one lost boy is autistic, and that was proven in the live action.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So
I was right, and you guys made fun of me when I said that.
So
but
when we
that's
were
correct.
watching the original, the bear lost boy,
The big-
who's just
the
like
big-
big
big
fat,
fella.
and he's like, "What's strategy?"
He's slow.
I kept saying he's a kid, Liam. He's not, and then Liam was like, "No, I think he might be on the spectrum or something."
Yeah.
And then when you watch the live action, one of them was one of the actors was I don't know the PC way to say this.
Slow. I think
Slow.
slow's
There we go.
fair.
Slow is
Yeah.
fair.
He's probably the best actor in the live action too.
That actually is probably pretty
Without being
should
ironic.
we transition over to?
Oh boy.
So
Yeah, can I start us off?
Yeah.
Okay, it's off.
This is my egregious take.
Oh boy, it's better.
I like to live my life in black and white. It's tough for me to be like, oh, it was okay, it was fine. I either like really like something or really dislike something. This was the worst movie I've ever seen in my life.
That's great.
This
No.
was the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. It was maybe the worst
Yeah.
movie and also the worst time I had watching a movie. It was so obscenely bad. It made me sad. Like, it didn't even make me angry. It made me sad. Because I was like, I could be doing anything else with my time. I could be reading. I could be growing as a human being. I could be learning how to play
You'd be growing up.
the violin. You know, I could be doing a lot of things, and I'm stuck thanks to this bozo who picked this movie. I'm stuck watching this piece of. Am I allowed to curse? I'm
Yes.
stuck watching this piece of shit movie
What did you
for
say?
2 hours.
yeah.
It's the worst movie I've ever seen. And
Technically, it was an hour and 40,
whatever.
which
it felt like it was
probably felt like it was
7 hours.
3 days.
And the main, there's so many complaints. The
Yeah,
main complaint, how bad is Peter Pan, the actor playing Peter Pan?
Oh
How
my gosh. Okay.
bad
I
is he?
legitimately
What?
thought he was CGI the first time he showed up. He doesn't look
gosh.
like a real human being. And I'm really not trying to sound incredibly mean towards this human being.
I am.
But
We're just gonna clip this as another
I'm
take.
literally looking like it looks like a fake person. Like there's something wrong with the way this person
Well, that's-
looks. Like
that's messed up.
his head was too small for his body. That's what
messed
the
up. I
problem
didn't
was.
see that.
His head was too small for his body. And
We're getting personal.
I don't think I bet if I looked up a picture of the actor in real life, he doesn't look like that. Because he
I hope
looked
not.
fake. He looked like he was green screened in or insert or something was wrong.
There was
It was
certainly
in the
a
uncanny
lot
valley.
of,
I was weirded out by it.
He was motion tracked, I think, several times.
So
to
maybe
where
that was
his
it.
like.
I was looking like, what's wrong with his
Yeah,
face?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think I had a lot of similar feelings to Nathanael. Maybe not as far as he didn't look like a human, but there were several points where I'm like, what is like? Is part of him CGI? Like, I think I got that feel a lot, and also with you in saying that he is not ready to play a role in a feature length movie.
It's
But
actually
sorry,
worse.
continue.
It's actually worse than my feelings on Peter Pan in the original, which is I think he's mean. I don't relate to him. He's just kind of a villain in my eyes. I feel nothing when I see this kid in the live action. He's so milk toast that it's like embarrassing to watch him on the screen.
Yeah,
He brings nothing to the table. And I think I'm sorry, buddy. You're probably a good actor. Maybe not. But it's
And
really
100% of the movies I've seen him in, it wasn't good.
because at least Peter
Yeah.
Pan's like, at least in the original, he's like overtly like he's a big personality.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have
he has panache.
you kind of have a feeling about him,
Yeah.
one way or another. This, I'm like, I think I would do better as Peter Pan right now with 0 acting lessons.
I think he'd be a great Peter Pan.
and I'm a great actor, so obviously I would do better.
I think-
but I think anybody would do better than this kid.
Yeah, it was.
It's tough to watch. I'm sorry. I'm getting
it was
red.
really bad. I
heated.
I saw Metacritic. I think would give it a 14%.
Too high. Too high.
I will say that if I hadn't seen this movie and you were just like, Greg, like, how do you think this movie goes? And I were just to be my most silly self, and just say the silliest things. Be like, you know what? They'd probably make the villain have like a really compelling story, so you sympathize with him. And you'd be like, ah, interesting. And then I'd be like, and you know what? Probably all of the girls will be the coolest characters and beat up all the boys.
Of course.
And the boys will have to learn lessons from all the girls. And the story's going to be about women empowerment and not about growing up. And then you're like, Greg, that was actually the movie.
Yeah. You didn't even have to watch it.
Like, well, I don't have to watch it. It's just a silly person decided to make a it's like, you know, when you said that the original was terrible, and then I sat here and I kind of dug into some of the deeper themes, and maybe on the inside you're like, huh, maybe there are some deeper themes to this, but I don't
agree
really
with you
care.
ever. Yeah.
Right. Okay. It's like somebody watched the original and was like they saw none of that. They just saw like cardboard cutouts of people, and they're like, oh, this will be just like Peter Pan because Peter Pan will be there. And it's like, oh, what other things though are you bringing from the original story that was based off of German folktale or whatever?
Nothing.
And they're like, well,
Oh, okay.
Peter
so,
Pan will
let me
be
pause you.
there.
This wasn't based off a German folktale. This is like a kind of like Rudyard Kipling wrote The Jungle Book. This was written by a person. This isn't
J.M.
this is not
Barrie.
a-
J.M.
yeah.
Barrie.
Isn't it?
Say
Isn't it-
his name.
J.M. Barrie.
J.M.
J.M. Barrie's rolling over in his grave at what happened.
which we watched
here.
Finding Neverland. Great movie.
Good movie. Good movie.
Great movie. If you guys want to watch a Peter Pan adjacent movie, watch Finding Neverland, and also watch Hook because Liam. Name a couple of your favorite actors. Amongst
I
the,
love Robin Williams.
Robin Williams,
I
and would you
love
say
him.
Dustin Hoffman is up
I
there?
love Dustin Hoffman. I
Okay,
think
and would you
he's
say like
great.
directors? You say, like Steven Spielberg's pretty good.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's
yeah,
pretty
he's
good.
made some good ones.
Okay, and like
Yeah.
and like composers, maybe John Williams or something like that.
I've heard of him.
Okay, all right. Okay. Well,
Can
like you can just go ahead and revoke all of those because all of those are in Hook. And
Can
you
I
have not seen
instill
the movie.
some half-ass research just real quick about
Yeah,
Hook?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It is with
You know
half-ass
who's
research.
supposed to? This can't be true, but you know who's supposed to play Peter Pan?
Oh gosh, I knew this, and then I don't.
This is half-ass research because I saw this and I'm like, there's no way this is true, but I'm not going to do any more research into whether this is true or not. Michael Jackson.
in cast.
Could you imagine, dude? That would hit
With
a
all the
little
Lost
differently.
Boys. Oh,
Well, you know, you're
boy.
guaranteed. If Michael Jackson was cast as Peter
Oh,
Pan,
no.
the music would be
Guaranteed pedophilia.
sensational. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Hold
What?
on.
Oh, that's right. Because I did hear that he was supposed to be. Okay, I did hear that. That because he was actually supposed to play a role in making some of the music.
Yeah,
Okay,
because he had a fascination with,
children.
yes, Neverland. He called his ranch Neverland Ranch.
Yeah. He was
This is
obsessed
true.
with.
So
He
like
kind of
he,
had that
he,
Peter
like,
Pan
really
obsession.
liked Peter Pan.
Anyways, Hook. Out of all of the, I don't know. It's close between Hook and Finding Neverland, but Hook is one of the best movies out there. I mean, if you watch Hook,
We need to watch it.
it's phenomenal. We should just do that to cleanse ourselves and just be like, oh, Peter Pan's not that bad.
Okay. Do you want me to do the quick
Need something.
the rant rundown of everything wrong with the live
Okay,
action? Real quick?
how much time you got?
let's get
And
Nathaniel's
you can pause
overall
me.
thoughts, and
If
I'll
you wanna, how about you just only go through and then we can unpack them.
Okay, yeah, let's hear the list, and then I'll kind of I'll wrap up things.
Okay. First of all, how many characters were there in that movie?
1, 2, 3.
Oh,
No, the answer is one. There was one character, and it was Wendy. No one else in that movie did anything.
Peter Pan and everyone.
No, Peter Pan did.
Wendy
Pan was
and
there.
Wendy.
But Captain Hook was
Captain
so
Hook.
you sympathize with
Captain Wendy
Hook.
and Peter Wendy
No,
and Wendy.
But-
yeah.
But
Once again-
Jude Law.
but see, once again, Wendy is
Wendy.
the hero of the story, which is fine because I would argue she's the hero of the first one as well.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But they only let her do things. No one else does anything. Okay, first of all, we're gonna start from the beginning. Okay, first of all, Wendy, I've never hated a child more than in the first 5 minutes of that movie.
Oh gosh, yeah, they
Like,
really
it,
made her
it opens
unlikable.
up and she's immediately unlikable. So in the original, she the kids are playing and she's letting them play, but she's doing, cleaning up and making sure Nana's taking care of them.
She's being the mature
Yeah,
child.
she's being the mature child.
She's a woman.
And in this one, she joins in, they break a mirror, and then she immediately blames them and is like, aha, it's every man for himself because we're pirates. She's like immediately a horrible, self-centered person.
Right.
Good start.
I
to
was
a
also
character we're supposed
curious.
to
I'm like, okay, where are you going with this? Oh,
And then
you went there, huh?
second, Peter Pan gets interested in Wendy. So in the original, Wendy has Nana got Peter Pan's shadow somehow.
Right.
And so Wendy's saving it for her, waiting for Peter Pan to show up. In this one, Peter Pan just shows up out of nowhere and it's like kidnapping Wendy. Like she's floating out of the bed being kidnapped. And of course that shadow fight looked horrible.
oh gosh, yeah.
And that whole movie was so dimly lit. And I have so many things to go off of. But okay, Wendy. Okay, first of all, the Lost Boys. We're not. You're not the boys. So, but I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, again,
It's just
it's
rough.
first of all, that's a slap in the face to women because the whole reason that it's just Lost Boys is because the boys were so stupid that they fell out of their strollers.
Well,
and
and it's
the
the
girls
idea
were
that
too
girls
smart.
mature quicker, and then
Exactly.
they grow up a little faster, which is true.
Literally,
girls grow
it's
up a little
true.
faster. They mature quicker than boys. That theme. So when she's like, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of like, no, in the original story it does, and it's not that individually ruins everything. Okay, who cares? But again, when we go in and we dig in and we talk about changes, because that's kind of what this whole series we're going on. is about. It's about you make a movie and then you make changes to it. Were those changes helpful or were they not? And when most of them fall into the category of like that didn't need to happen, didn't help anything, then like it's really troublesome when it's like that actually that change, like that had a point originally. Like you just took that point away for what? Tell me why.
Did any of the changes fall into the other category?
No, zero.
We'll get there.
I'll get there. Let me just.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with Wendy and just go through all of her the stuff about her that, other than her being completely unlikable, she can suddenly magically fly because she chose to. Right? She just believes in herself.
Right.
Tinkerbell is more of a fan of Wendy than of Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Also, that actress. So when I say how many characters in the movie, if Tinkerbell had been played by just like a bowling pin with googly eyes, would it have made a difference?
Was
No.
it not?
I forgot
Because
she was in the
literally
movie.
just she
I thought
literally
it
does
was
nothing.
a bowling pin with googly eyes.
Exactly, and okay, so this actually I got mad when this happened. So the first thing is like
I was
her
mad
mom
several
tells
times.
her, "Hey, you need to grow up," and part of growing up is like you're going to go to school, you're going to go get married, and she's like, "What if I don't want that life?" And it's like, okay, you are. And this is
Going to
very
school.
sad. Okay, to the writer of Peter
What
Pan,
kid wants
I
that?
know you're watching this because you're narcissistic, self-centered, and of course anything that's about Peter Pan you're going to watch. You need to look outside of your own bubble because your 30-something spinster life is not the only thing. This is going to sound really mean, but you need to hear this. Your 30-something spinster life is not the only proper way to live your life. And in fact, I think if you dig deep enough, you'll understand that life is leaving you lonely and sad. Okay? Because here's the thing. She's like, "Oh, I don't need to get married." Then she goes, her whole thing in the movie is that she's the mother character, right?
That's
they ask
great.
her like, "What's a mother?" Right? And she has to explain to them, "Oh, a mother does this and this and this and this," and even sings the whole song. And they kind of kept that part in.
Yeah.
And then when it's like her falling off the plank and her life like flashes before, like what her life's gonna be flashes before her eyes. I don't know if you guys caught this because it went by really fast. It is like the saddest thing ever. It's her
gets really
growing
old
up,
and then dies.
becoming a
Alone.
writer,
Yeah.
and dying alone. And you're like, "I'm sorry."
It was
That's supposed to represent,
it was
like-
the person writing the story.
Exactly. I'm like, are you kidding me? You don't think that finding someone to spend the rest of your life with is a worthwhile goal? Like, yes, these are obviously romanticizations of something that's good, and so but the core principle of it's taking that core principle of it's good to find someone to spend your life with,
Right.
and kind of spins it out into the ideal version of that is you find someone to spend your life with, you both fall in love, and then you live happily ever after, right?
Right.
That's the ideal. And it's recognized that in real life that doesn't happen like that.
Right.
But that's something to strive for. But then these movies come in and say, "Oh no, the thing to strive for is for you to be a 30-year-old woman," or she's like 50 years, she's 60 years old, writing on writers because people who are married, like women who
Or
are
by the
married,
end of
aren't
it-
allowed to use typewriters. Did you know that? Like,
She's using a quill.
yeah,
A quill.
this idea, it's so toxic. This idea that marriage is some sort of like shackle,
Prison.
some sort of
Yeah.
prison that's gonna hold you back from being who you're really supposed to be. And it's like, hey, you're singing this whole song about motherhood, and then the whole point of her character is she's like, "I don't want to be a mother." What the hell is that?
Pretty bad.
Are
Yeah.
you guys actually brain dead? And again, the only reason I can come up with is because that's your life, and you're trying to justify it to yourself. I'm sounding really angry. and I
Speak into
am.
the camera.
I'm really,
Speak to
you
her.
are trying to justify. Let me bring my
Is it a
microphone here.
girl that made this movie?
I have no idea.
I'm assuming in the writers' rooms. The writers' rooms, a lot of people,
sure
but I'm
thing
assuming
person.
whoever wrote this movie had a chip on their shoulder because they're lonely and their life isn't as fulfilling as they thought it would be, and they're trying to spin it out into, hey, this is actually something ideal to shoot for. It's not. It's not. And now I'm not saying, right? I'm not saying that, oh no, everyone needs to get married or you're going to live an unfulfilling life. That's not what I'm saying. Please understand that. But what I am saying is the idea that motherhood isn't something worth aspiring to has been pushed by Hollywood so hard,
Yeah.
and I think is one of the most toxic things to come out of Hollywood in the last 30 years.
Well, especially like kids. It's like that should be one of the really cool things that a kid would want to be. Like if you talk to a little boy, a little girl, and you're like, "Hey, like what are you most excited about growing up?" Like being a dad
Yeah.
or being a mom. If they gave that response, like my heart would melt. That'd be great. Like so good for you that you're not sitting over there like, "I want to be famous."
Yeah.
I want like everybody to worship me.
make
It's like
TikToks and be
that's
famous.
really that's really toxic, and you're not going to find happiness in that. So giving a message of like don't you want to grow into the kind of person? And this is what I mean. This is what I mean by like change. It's like they don't understand the original themes of this movie, to where when they start just plugging shit in and pulling things out and dissecting stuff, they're just like, oh yeah, this looks good because it still looks like Peter Pan. And what you're left with is like, it's almost the opposite message. It's like, hey, don't grow up. Grow up consistently with all of your options open, and you deserve all of those options. You deserve your potential to be limitless, and you deserve to effectively be a child for the rest of your life. And I was like, that's the point of Neverland not being a place to grow up. And it's like my whole, when I watched that, I was like, why would these people ever leave? Like, there's not, like, there isn't any motivation to do anything else. It's not a terrible, it wasn't like Peter Pan is growing. He grew up in Neverland. By the end, he's like, you know what? I treated you awfully, and now, he said it more like a computer because he's not a great actor. But he's like, I'm so sorry, and I hope you can forgive me, or whatever the case is. And I'm like, okay, so he's growing. You've defeated the purpose of Neverland. He's growing up, literally growing up. He's doing the one thing that you said you can't do in Neverland. He grew up right there, and it's like they don't even care. They're just like, oh, wait, but this is a really good opportunity for one of the women characters to inspire one of the boy characters, and you're like, okay, that's fine, but you're destroying like that. Do you not know what story you're telling?
I bet these people didn't read the books.
I don't think
they did
or
not
watch
even
the
read
original
books.
movie.
Or
the
maybe
only,
even watch
the
the
only
original
thing
movie,
they knew from the original movie was the Indian part, and they're like, oh, we're going to fix that.
Yep.
Speaking of which, the Indians are just not there, except Tiger Lily, who's literally just a plot device. She just shows up. She's the leader of the
She's
Lost
just
Boys.
perfect.
So again, Peter Pan, not a character. She's the leader of the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
At the end, she saves Peter Pan, like Peter Pan dies.
She says everybody like 12 times.
Yeah.
She's literally just like beats up
They have
everybody.
to right the wrongs of the original.
Yeah.
They do. That might have been the driving force behind
also
making this.
they beat the Lost Boys in the original. There wasn't any negative depiction other than the way that they were animated, which was again, we all agree was a little. They looked like caricatures.
Yeah,
like
they're
it was not
caricatures.
good. Yes.
But that was also the thing is that was also a very common way in animation to get across.
Right, they
what's
did it
going
with
on. And so,
everybody.
yeah, they did it with every. If you look at like
The British guy has a big old belly
yeah,
and he's
the biggest-
walking down,
so
like
if you-
tucking his shirt in,
yeah,
trying to keep it
if
in.
you look at- if you look- and they've all got
Scotland.
garbage teeth and things like that. You
Right.
exaggerate features in order to very clearly show.
Right.
Now, obviously, there are some that have been there are some that have been used in order to intentionally denigrate other people,
Right.
and those are obviously very bad.
And I don't mind. Like,
But you can understand the reasoning behind them, and also understand that you would never draw it that way today,
Right.
And just move past it. It's not that hard.
Yeah, like I'm not a very sensitive person in that area. Like I don't care. But I could even be like, okay, yeah, like if you were to reanimate these, it'd be better. And like
Yeah, probably don't do that.
change some of the language. But
yeah, it was a little tough to watch.
but it wasn't like treating them poorly or anything like
Well,
that. Like
the song, the song is kind of funny because they're asking him all these questions about like, oh, why is the red man red and these things like that, and the answers are all like really goofy. So why is the red man red? Oh, it's because he saw his wife and he saw this beautiful girl and he's just been blushing.
But he's been blushing the whole time.
And then why does he say ugh? It's because he saw his mother-in-law, and like, again, it's pretty funny. The song's actually pretty funny.
But yes, the live action remake carries. I was desperately sitting there like, Greg, take something away from this. And it's like they just shot holes in any theme that could possibly be there.
Yeah.
To the point where the one I even explained where I was like, you've got to be kidding me. The second that Peter Pan grew up in Neverland, I was like, now there's just nothing to even look at. And then it was just filthy.
Yeah.
That was the word that kept coming to mind. I was like, this movie is filthy. It's just meaningless.
Okay,
When I
so-
say meaningless, I mean there was no meaning other than what was the point of Wendy at the beginning being like, it's every man for himself, I'm a pirate, whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, it's got to have something to do later in the movie. Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing.
You thought-
It was just
She's just a brat.
pointless. It was just pointless.
And then the thing is, like, they Peter and Wendy are like at loggerheads the whole movie,
Right.
and then she's just suddenly like, oh no, Peter died. If I was her, like, I was literally expecting her to be like, well, it was his fault. Like, he was
Thank
an idiot.
God.
Honestly, okay, so they almost had an interesting plot with Captain Hook, although they ruined it. And the twist with Captain Hook makes Peter way more evil.
What
Where
makes
it's like,
they were friends?
No, it makes him way more evil. So, okay, follow me here. So, Peter Pan, Captain Hook is a lost boy, and Captain Hook misses his mother.
Right.
So Peter Pan exiles him. He gets lost at sea, gets picked up by Smee, becomes a pirate, comes back he can't find his mom, so he has nowhere to go. So he comes back, and Peter Pan cuts off his hand. And then later, at the end, very end of the movie, he's trying to fly, and Peter says, "Just think happy thoughts," and Hook says, "I don't have any," including from when he was your best friend. So the implication that you get is that, yeah, they were best friends, but Peter treated him like dirt.
Yeah.
Peter is just an absolute
He's sadistic.
scumbag in this movie.
He's like a
He's just
sociopath.
a horrible person in this movie.
I couldn't. But again, what theme? Like, what was the
So the
point
theme,
of that?
the theme of that. So here's the theme.
By
that,
the end,
that,
he fell into the water, and then him and his buddies were all floating at the end. They're like, "Oh, we're floating. Oh, look at us. We're dumb." And I was like, "Okay, why did you tell that whole compelling story about Hook? There was nothing there."
Yeah. So here's what would have been interesting if they had just actually killed Peter, because the whole point is
Right.
Hook is like, "Oh, I killed Peter," and then he actually showed remorse, and that would have been like an interesting story. Like he couldn't find his purpose growing up because he couldn't find his mother. He couldn't get back to that. So then he made his purpose being this enmity, kind of like Megamind. When the hero dies, and Megamind's like, "Okay, what do I do now? Because I've lost my raison d'etre."
Right.
And they almost got there, and then Hook's like,
You can't do that, dude.
"Don't look at me."
There you go. Stop.
And therefore kill all these kids, which made no sense, because even in the original, he's like, "I'll make them walk the plank if they don't join my crew," and
Right.
he's just being like mean, but he's not like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill all the kids, kill them all, I don't care."
You guys want
it's
to hear
like-
a fun side theory? Unless somebody had a point to make.
I was just going to say, I don't want to discredit Jude Law. I think he's a great actor. I think he did the best he could with the source material. Not the source
That's
material.
garbage script. There's no saving this.
He was just a bad character.
But I thought he acted as well as he could have
Yeah,
given
I
the
agree with that.
circumstances.
Yep.
I didn't look at it and be like,
I like
oh, Jude Law, man.
but
What
also,
happened, dude?
that could have been anybody, and it wouldn't change. He was just.
I don't know. He stood out as like a professional actor compared to the other people.
He was also the only adult.
Yeah. Also, the other thing I want to say about the casting, Jim Gaffigan. Do you know who Jim Gaffigan is?
Yeah.
He's Smee, right?
He's so funny in real
Yeah, I
life,
know, and he was just
got
useless.
nothing
He got
in
nothing.
this movie.
He's a nobody.
When I saw him, and I was like, "That Jim Gaffigan." I was like, "That's one of my favorite comedians." This could
He's
be good.
hysterical.
He doesn't do anything. Like, is there any comedic like?
No,
What,
that's
you
what-
didn't see the part where you're not paying attention when Smee goes, "Hot pockets."
Probably
That's
not.
a Jim Gaffigan joke.
Probably
for you guys.
wasn't paying attention. I was probably checked out at that
That
point.
is something I was going to add, is that there was like almost zero attempts even at humor.
Mm-hmm.
There was at one point where he was like, "This is getting old," and he's like, "Everything with you is old, Hook," and they start fighting, and I'm like,
It's kind of sad.
is that a joke? Is that
kinda
sad?
sad
Like
and
the
pathetic.
story makes no sense. It's all over the place. Like so the live action remake, they redid the character development between Peter Pan and Hook to where, like Nathaniel said, Peter Pan and Hook were friends. Hook was a lost boy. He missed his mom, so Peter Pan kicked him out of Neverland. He came back because he couldn't find his mom. Tragic. But now he's an adult, so Peter Pan cut his hand off. And now he replaced it with a hook and is a tyrant and is chasing Peter Pan, and Peter Pan is a jerk and fighting back. And I'm like, okay, is there going to be a point to all this? And at the end, Wendy points all this out to Peter Pan because she's the only character that does anything, and she's perfect at everything: sword fighting, flying. She's better at never landing than anybody in Neverland, and she's also the adult.
She's literally better at everything.
She's
It's
the best
so
Neverlander.
stupid.
Yeah, it's as silly as it's like it's her. I mean, she can understand. She comes in and by the end understands Tinkerbell,
And
like
even
Peter can't.
says like,
And-
"Oh, Peter doesn't actually understand what you're saying,
yeah.
but I do."
And again, it's like the deeper themes they're going for is that like women need to stick together.
Man Bad.
And man bad.
It's Man Bad movie.
And she at the end, Tinkerbell goes up and she's like, "Thank you for hearing me." And I'm like, who the hell? This is why this movie got 14%. Like, who the hell is watching that and they're like, oh, like what kid is like, yeah, that makes sense, loving that, and what adult is like was watching a kid's movie and is like, oh, that makes sense because no, what else in the movie? Like draw at it, pull that thread, pull that thread. It goes
What it
nowhere.
says there on there, but what else is there?
I mean,
Seriously,
seriously,
wouldn't it be fun to be a fly on the wall in the writers' room to this new one?
No,
someone's like,
it
wait, we have to put. Thanks for hearing me, and everyone's like, yeah, that'd be great. That's great. That's awesome.
like I want. Anyways, okay. I guess I just can't think of it. Like this movie just makes me want to yell.
Literally towards the end of the movie, I'm watching it and it's just egregious. And then the end of the movie is happening, and I'm actively fast forwarding because I'm my body is like scrunching up in pain. Like, I don't want to watch this movie anymore. That's, there's only been a few other movies that have done that to me. Ghostbusters 2016 was one. Sorry, Leon.
Oh, come on. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. Chat. Can I get some backup in the chat?
Speaking of chat, Marco says, hey. It says, it's 2023. You can't have a good storyline that has a male protagonist not being overshadowed by a strong, independent woman.
Man bad.
True. Man bad.
Man
True.
bad theory.
It's man bad theory.
Speaking of Ghostbusters 2016, Jakob. Do you guys remember Jakob?
How could we forget?
Is he related to you or just a buddy?
He's my cousin.
Oh,
Twice removed.
Okay.
Yeah. He wrote into you, Nathaniel. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I got that. It was weird. It was I
And
mean,
he
I was
hates you
doing my
guys,
pirate
too,
thing,
which is really strange.
I
I
thought
was
he
doing my
hated
pirate
you.
thing on the beach, and I found a message in a bottle, and said it was from Jakob.
Was it addressed to someone?
Wow.
It was addressed to me.
It's
I don't
addressed to you.
like. What are the chances of a message in a bottle? Right. So
And
I
from
actually
Jakob,
wrote it
huh?
down on my phone
He's an
so I
old.
could remember.
He's kind of an old soul. He
is
would
an
do
old
something
soul.
like
you might
message
even
in a
call him.
bottle.
You might even call him an old pirate.
You might. He's kind of
One,
grumpy.
if you will.
Yeah, he's kind of grumpy and
A pirate,
cynical,
if you
like
will.
a pirate.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I can read it if you guys want me to.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
I'd like to hear what he has to say.
Okay. Well.
He always has interesting things
Yeah.
to say.
So yeah, I got it right here.
Most of it not relevant to
Yeah.
anything.
Anything? Well, I mean, let's see. I mean, it's interesting because I wrote it down, but I somehow did that without reading it. So this is my first time reading it. So
Okay.
What is it? Peter Pan, yada yada yada. Who cares? Kids don't want to grow up. Sounds like the Republican Party. If you guys don't review a real cinematic classic like Ghostbusters 2016 soon, I'm tuning out. Oh, second note of that. On an unrelated note, did you guys see the photos from the upcoming Snow White live action?
Oh, boy.
More like Snow No Whites.
Classic Jakob.
More like No White and the Seven Dwights. More like Snow Latinx and the 6 able-bodied men and 1 dwarf.
Oh my gosh, dude.
It just keeps going. More like Snow Birthing Person and the 7 liberals.
He kept the snow in. That's the part that's not true. Stupid.
He's not the brightest.
I applaud it. Let me know when you do that one on the podcast. I'd love to come in as a guest and maybe bring some diversity to your mayonnaise pot.
He called us a mayonnaise
He
pot?
called us a mayonnaise pot.
Todd.
About
Is it-
racist.
Okay, Jakob, that name sounds pretty Eastern European. I don't know if you want to
Isn't
be throwing the mayonnaise
when I
label
think
around.
about Jakob, I literally think of a guy wearing lederhosen in a vat of sour cream.
That's pretty accurate, actually. You guys have met him, right?
Hey,
No,
hey,
you've
I
never
don't-
met-
I've never met
I know,
Jakob.
I know. I keep sticking my hand in the camera, but I actually tanned up pretty nicely. So I'm more like Dijon mustard.
Well, thanks, Jakob, for that. Thanks, Jakob, for nothing.
Nothing.
Jakob.
Didn't even watch the Peter Pan movie. I mean, he probably loved it.
You know what? Don't write in again, okay? We don't want to hear from you.
All right,
Mayonnaise
I'm gonna
pod.
tell you this cool theory, this cool Peter Pan theory. So there's a theory out there that Peter Pan is actually the villain, like what you guys talked about, and so he goes and he finds children and he takes them to Neverland, and the trick is that he doesn't let them leave, and
And then he feasts on
like,
their flesh.
like Michael Jackson.
And if they do ever leave, he kills them. and
Michael
so
Jackson.
Captain Hook
Like
is
Michael Jackson? I didn't realize Michael Jackson.
And so Captain Hook is one of the lost boys who escaped and grew up, and so are the pirates, and they're actually there trying to stop Peter Pan. And so
Is
when
this a theory or is this just Hook?
no, and so when Wendy and the boys show up, he tries to capture them and the lost boys, and that's why at the end he kills Peter Pan, and he's like, you guys got to join the crew, because his whole point is like he wants people to join the crew to get out of Neverland, because that's where Peter Pan is killing people. It doesn't really check out, but I heard it and I thought it was worth it.
If Peter Pan was the villain, I think I'd like it more.
Okay, honestly,
But even
he
in
was
the original-
definitely the villain in the live action
Okay,
remake.
the live
They just
action
didn't paint
one,
him as the live action one.
100%. He basically just played stupid boy number 5 out of all the other
extremely
stupid boy.
evil boy.
Yeah.
Stupid evil man number 5, and it was like, well, he can get fixed by woman, but other than that, nothing. He's gonna have 0. He was useless. He was an empty carton of milk that was just he was pointless.
Excuse me,
did
he was
nothing.
an empty carton of coffee milk.
like literally Wendy and Tinkerbell and Tiger Lily saved everybody,
Coffee
and we're
milk.
the only. I'm trying so hard to not address
He's
that.
just
Man, you cannot
steamrolling
say-
through.
We can't say stuff like that.
Why?
Okay,
Coffee
so
milk?
here's
We're
how
gonna get
I felt
canceled.
about Hook in that movie. So remember Black Panther, and
Yeah, sure.
and Michael B. Jordan's character is like, Wakanda, you're just sitting here doing nothing while all these nations around you are super impoverished, blah 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 blah, and you're like, wow, he's talking so much sense. I think I completely agree. Everything he says, you're like, yeah,
Killmonger.
yeah,
Yeah, he was good.
Killmonger, and then he's like, and therefore kill all white people, and you're like, now hold on, just
You
a second.
lost me.
You lost
Right,
me. I feel like
Killmonger
Hook did
jumping
the
off the
same
ship.
thing where everything Hook was like, you're like, no, Peter's the bad guy. Peter's the bad guy. Yep, I'm 100% with you. And he's like, let's kill all the kids now. I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
you had it, and then you lost me.
It was almost like this is another one of those things where you're like, I don't
See ya,
thi- I don't-
Marco.
I don't-
Thanks for checking
I don't
in.
think the writers were even realized why he was killing people. They're like, yeah, and then Captain Hook's trying to kill people, and there might have been one that was like, hey, Jeff or Margaret or whoever's writing this thing, they're like, why is he killing people? We've never really established that. Like, and it's like what Peter Pan said. Well, because he's Captain Hook. And they're like, oh, that checks out.
And then Margaret's like, shut up.
Yeah. And so she's like, and then it's like, well, let's keep making him just super sad backstory. And then his life was ruined by Peter Pan, all this stuff. And you're like, okay, wait, so is he the villain? Like, well, he's trying to kill kids. That's why he's the villain. And it's like, well, why is he trying to kill kids? Because he's the villain. Well, he's not. you spent the whole, like, the movie attempts nothing. Like, if you go and watch this movie, you will waste so much more than the hour and 40 minutes that it takes to finish the movie.
You'll lose a part of your soul.
Yeah,
in the
you will
process.
lose. I mean, my roommate Damien, was jumping his car and finished jumping his car and sat down for like the last 30 minutes. And if you know anything about Damien, you know he's very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And he said 2 words. At one point, I can't even remember what was happening. He just goes, nope. He just goes, nope. And I don't even look over. At this point, I was probably crying or just angry or punching something. But I was just watching. I'm like, probably in just full agreement with why ever he was saying nope. And then at the end, he just stood up and he's like, man.
That's all that needed to be said. That's all that needed to be said, Damien.
And I was like, yes, Damien.
Man.
It was just so bad. I mean, I think that he wished that his car was just in worse shape than it was, that he could
Yeah.
still be outside jumping his car rather than, or attaching the cables to himself.
He definitely enjoyed jumping
killing
his. He
himself.
definitely enjoyed jumping his car more than the movie, right?
Yeah, man, it was just, I'm trying to be more constructive, but there were so many bad parts to that movie.
So it was written by a dude or 2 dudes, but script supervisor 2 women. So we'll see, who do I blame for that?
Unbelievable.
Because it really feels like something that was, and you know what? It could be, that could be the guys are also single and struggling with that. But it definitely seems more like a 30 to 40 spinster thing
Yeah.
where like you feel like you missed your chance. Hey, it's never too late. Okay. It's never too late to get into a relationship. It's never too late to do things. And that's one of in the original, when the dad's like, oh, I think I've seen that ship before, right? It implies that he was also went to Neverland once and he's going to like reconnect with that.
Right.
And so it's like, to Greg's point, you got to narrow it down. So you don't try to do everything all at once, but it's never
Right.
too late to do something. It's never too late to grow. It's never too late to find a relationship. There was a guy, one of our pastor friends, he had a seminary professor who was like, well, I have the gift of singleness because I've never met anyone. Retired at like 75 and was married within like 6 months.
right.
So, it's never too late to find a relationship, but don't try to glamorize your lonely lifestyle.
Well, and I don't think it's not any secret that the idea of like getting married and having a family is the more traditional view.
Sure. But also
but-
let's think about Wendy in like the 1800s being like, I don't want to get married. I want to be what did single women do in 1800s Victorian England?
the
Like think about
saddest
that.
life possible.
Again, and it's this complete inability to
Tell a
write outside of
different
your
story.
time frame.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like tell a different story then. Like write a story about a girl and it'll still be really bad. but
yeah,
like,
but so
but
that's
like,
the thing. They won't get paid for that.
Yeah, right, because you don't have the Peter Pan name attached to it. So instead of 14%, it'd get like 3%. But I think it's, yeah, to your point, it's just sad to see like at least in this story, you have like a mom encouraging the daughter, hey, like grow up, do these things, which like typically parents, even in our age, are more traditional. And so you'll probably like can relate to a parent saying, hey, like grow up and you know, have a family, get married. But like, it's like the movie doesn't even pay credit to that. It's just like, oh, you're telling me to grow up? Well, I'll figure out that growing up is good, but not growing up in that way, growing up in my way, the way that I want to do it. And it's
my
like,
generation
it's like,
really knows what
yeah,
makes
and
you
it's
happy.
like, who knows? Maybe you do
Yes,
grow up.
the depression rates of this generation are proving that they really know what they're doing.
It's like maybe you do grow up and you find out that you're happy in a situation where you're, and again, we're going to put alone in air quotes because I don't think that it's healthy to push anybody to be alone and be like, yeah, just be consumed by your work. No, even if you're not getting married, all those pictures when her life flashed before her eyes should have been in relationship of some kind. Should have been her with friends, you know, her with family, her with her brothers. Maybe her brothers have kids and she's an aunt.
Right.
Those are going to be people's happiest moments in their life.
Yep.
It's not going to be my life. Like that's why what made that scene so, that's what stirred Nathaniel up so much and stirred
so
me up
mad.
watching, because when you're like, oh, like my life flashed before my eyes and I saw my most beautiful moments. It was just her. It's me flying a plane. I think one of them was like fencing with a friend, and one of them was like writing a book, and then her dying alone on the couch with a smile on her face. And I'm like,
and so this is the problem with these movies
like,
is
who tells a story and is like, man, I wish I spent more time alone doing things on my own.
Well, that's the thing about
It's
like
like, how sad.
lonely, self-centered people is like they have to shove it in your face that they're the opposite of all
Right,
those things.
exactly.
It's
It's
like, oh yeah, a happy person needs to tell you that
it's
they're
like
always
every
happy.
single guy or girl you know, like that you know, in the inside is like not happy being single, is like constantly posting things about
love
like
being single.
Yeah, the empowerment of being
Me
single,
time.
why it's so great,
Me
and
time.
like working on themselves.
It's sad, man, and that's Hollywood. That's a lot of Hollywood, unfortunately.
I just think it's like, especially in a kid's movie, it's just sad to see that be like, oh, when you think about growing up, think about these things. Think about being alone.
Yeah.
It's like,
great-
it's like, oh, come on.
It's a
Like,
great call out,
please
Nathaniel.
stop.
That's the toxicity that we're putting in our kids' minds is
and,
really
and again,
troublesome.
it's not that you have to get married to have a satisfying life. That's
No,
not
not
it.
at
But
all.
What Greg said is we're built for relationship.
Of course.
Right.
So the parts of your life that you're going to remember are the time you spend with friends, the time you spend with other people, with the people you're in a relationship with, which may not end up being your spouse and your children.
Right.
And that's okay. But also that's something good to aspire to, right? And also it's okay to say you're lonely, right? Stop projecting what you wish it was like and ignoring the reality of what it should be.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the denial of trying to love yourself in more than just grace. Because if you just love yourself with grace, then you're just like, well, everything I do is fine. Let's start off on that premise. And then it's like, nope, you already got off to a rough start. Because like that's a bad place to start, because you're just going to give yourself the grace and the benefit of every doubt. And you're going to say, well, it can't be me.
It's
Why
everyone
am I
else
not
is
happy?
wrong. The reason I can't find a significant other is because everybody else.
Yeah, you're like, oh, well, clearly it's not my fault, and so let's start. And it's like, no, you have to have truth present in order to love yourself. And if part of the truth is that you're unhappy because you're not with somebody, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to have hope in that, and it's okay to be like, hey, and if that doesn't happen, I'm gonna be involved in other relationships and really have people around me that love me and that I can be involved in their lives, because you don't have to be married to play a significant role in somebody's life. But that is where you're most gratified, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can't necessarily fix all of your own messes, but there will be people put in your life to help you with those. There'll be people that will be involved in the deep places in your life, and they'll be there to tell you that it's going to be okay, or they're going to be there to pull you out of it. And that's going to mean a ton to you because you won't be in a position to do it yourself. And then a really cool thing will happen. Then you'll be involved in people's lives where they're in messes, and you're going to be able to stick your hands into their mess because they can't help themselves. And you're going to go, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And that's why it's beautiful to be in these close relationships. And you just don't experience that when you just deny truth and you're just like, okay, no, like happy alone. And it's like, man, it's like somebody watched this movie and they're like, well, the main theme of the movie is that like there's nothing that needs to be fixed about the women in this movie, in this particular movie. Like we'll call them the big three. We'll say Wendy, Tinkerbell, and Tiger Lily. Like these characters had zero development.
Flawless, though.
If you were watching them as a girl and you're like, okay, Like what can I connect with in these characters? All of them is like, well, there was somebody that was saying this to me, and it made me feel this way. And as soon as I figured out to not think that way and to think for myself, then literally all of my problems are gone. I mean, Wendy could fly. She could Peter Pan better than Peter Pan.
She also made the whole boat float.
She made the whole boat float. She gave wisdom and advice to everybody in the whole movie constantly and was always right. And at the end of the movie was the sound voice of wisdom to Peter Pan, who ended up continuing to be a kid and leaving. And she's like, what are you doing? You got to grow up. This is crazy. And so I'm like, who watches that? And like, your takeaway from that is going to be, they'll call it empowerment. But the takeaway is going to be, you're fine by yourself. Nothing else matters. And it's like, geez, who, like, my question is who is watching that and is like, oh my gosh, like, I really relate to everybody else being wrong and me being right all the time. It's really tough.
I'll tell you who.
Probably
narcissist. Donald Trump is watching this is like, this movie, huge. It gets me like nobody else does. I am Wendy.
I am Wendy.
One of the greatest movies I've ever. Ask anybody, they'll tell you. It was one of the greatest movies ever.
I am the best at flying. Nobody flies.
They almost casted me as Wendy. Ask anybody. They almost casted me. I would have been a great Wendy.
Everybody says this.
Possibly the best movie. Ask anybody, they'll say it's possibly the best movie. I don't know, maybe.
We're all doing really bad.
Yeah, but we need to work on our Donald Trump.
Trump's the goat, man.
I can do a pretty good Obama.
Can you?
Give me the give me the speakerphone.
Yeah. Hang on, I got you. Navigating soundboard. You go.
This country is about decisions. It's about choices. We need to make a decision if we're going to continue to protect catch breaks for wealthy Americans, or if we are going to become a country that decides in itself that we're going to care for the least of us. And if we go from there, then I don't know. I've run out of things to say.
Can you give me this? I can do a good Biden.
It's only programmed to mic one.
What?
You can just hand him.
Okay,
a mic.
I could do a good Biden without this speakerphone. Come on, man. Corn pop. That was good. I don't know why you said
Damn, Mr. President, what are you doing here? Mr. President, in our podcast. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
I'm laughing because, like, you could have said anything. Like, you could have literally just been like, the debris is a green flag, and just like, oh yeah, he has said something like that.
Have you guys seen? People have done like like AI voices. It's a really good one of different. It's like it's Obama, Trump, and Biden playing Jeopardy.
That's good. I have seen those. They're like playing like Call of Duty together.
I love those.
I saw a deep fake with Biden as Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino, and it made me laugh very hard.
Gosh, you know, people have started doing these ads. Like if you're scrolling through like YouTube Reels, there'll all of a sudden be an ad, and it'll be the Joe Rogan AI voice, and they'll even like show a clip of Joe Rogan, and they'll have like the ad like over his mouth part, and he'll be like, "Oh my gosh, have you seen this? If you just sign up on this website, blah 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 blah," and then it cuts to like the website. And like the first time it got me because it was a rapper. And he was like, "Hey, listen, I people were talking about this guy, fill in the blank, some no-name rapper, and then he's like, and I didn't think much until I listened to his song, and I got to tell you, man, I listened to the song, and I started dancing a little bit, and I don't know about him as a rapper, but this song, top 5 rap songs ever, and then that's the end of the reel,
and you're like, well, if Jay-Z,
I literally that was the first time I saw, I'm like, Joe Rogan? I'm like, this guy must be blowing up. And then I realized that first little clip where it shows him before it cuts to all the music video stuff. I'm like, his mouth isn't synced up with this is just an AI version of Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Maybe ChatGPT wrote the live action Peter Pan.
I think it would have been better.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing.
I literally think it would have been better.
If ChatGPT wrote it, the changes would have been like more random.
Yeah.
This is like intentionally... Everything, if you think of like, oh, this movie is this is literally all of that and just that. And there's nothing else in the movie. They took everything out of the movie and just put in the things that people complain about being woke.
So it would have been written better with ChatGPT.
It's only that. The male characters are all pathetic and weak and old. The female characters are perfect and don't need any changes. They race swapped everyone.
And basically anybody who's a minority is awesome. Like even out of the Lost Boys, there's like a clear cut like black kid who's the leader, and he's like a badass every time he fights. And then there's also like like there's two girl twin lost boys. Go ahead and do
girls.
that puzzle in your head. They're awesome. There's one of them who the actor has some form of Down syndrome. And so it's like all of these minority groups they can fight. But it was like literally anybody there who was just like a white person or like a dude of any kind was like, hey, you're just going to be like morally super gray and bad and going to need help with everything from these girls. And you're going to be like constantly putting the girls down. And it's like, it's going to be a movie about the girls banding together. And it was just insufferable.
Okay, so can we talk about the pirate songs?
Oh my god! No,
What is there even to
because like there
talk
were like
about?
none of the songs were like there was just zero. Like I would start to I'm like, okay, there's going to be a song, and at one point even Captain Hook is like, I'm feeling a song and my soul whatever, and he sings for like 20 seconds, and I was like, was that it? Like, you just sing a song, make a new song, put some effort in, and they're like, yeah. It doesn't matter. Kids will look away. It doesn't need to be long. It's like, no, make a song. And it's like, no, they're incapable because there's not a shred of creativity on them. And yeah, I used the term, I know Liam said it might have been the worst movie he's ever seen in his life. I used the term that I think that movie broke me. Like
It's worse. Almost.
Like I watched it and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep doing this. I literally said like, I don't know if I can keep engaging in movies that I know are going to be bad. And you see, this will be controversial, but maybe a little relevant. And this is going to get us a little off topic. We can come back. I think this way about the Barbie movie. I do not think there is a doubt in my mind that a movie whose plot line is we're going to take a perfect white couple, perfect blonde bombshell girl and a perfect blonde bombshell guy who are going to go to the real world, and they're basically going to have what the real world is explained to them by Hollywood in a movie made in 2023. There is a 0% chance that movie will not just be completely pumped full of woke garbage.
I know. It makes me really sad.
I really hate
you're
using that
probably
term
right.
too. And it's like it's an ideology that's completely insipid, completely anti-truth, and completely self-centered and narcissistic, and it's just permeated everything. And it really is the inability of the current batch of writers in Hollywood who are on strike, and I hope they all lose their jobs.
Yeah.
It's their complete inability to write anything outside of themselves.
I mean, you could even argue that like the main source content for a movie called Barbie has already been made. You know, these are characters. This is Barbie and Ken.
Oh, wait. There's great. And now I don't know where I saw this, so take this with a grain of salt.
Oh boy.
But I read somewhere that, and you're going to love this, Liam.
Liam will love it for sure.
You're going to love this.
I don't know how I feel about that.
No, you're going to love this. Apparently, the plan was to make Melissa McCarthy Barbie.
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Might as well put Lizzo as Barbie.
That was the second choice, but no, they were like, yeah, we were trying to make like the anti-Barbie.
No,
but it just didn't. We just couldn't get it to work. And it's like, yeah, no kidding, because you went out to make the anti-Barbie.
Didn't they also, wasn't Amy Schumer in the mix for Barbie?
Yeah.
100% was. They were going to cast Amy Schumer as Barbie. Do you know who Amy Schumer is?
Oh, yes.
The least funny human being
Yes.
that's ever
The
lived.
only funny thing she's ever done was her cameo in Only Murders in the Building. And even that was not even nearly as good as Sting's, and Sting is not an actor.
Yeah.
So at least Margot Robbie is pleasant to look at. So I will be watching the movie for that. Oh, is that a hot take?
The male gaze strikes again.
Greg dropped his jaw as if that was a hot take.
Let's-
is Margot
let's-
Robbie good enough
let's
for you?
objectify women again.
Is
here.
Margot Robbie good enough
I'm
for you?
just saying it didn't go great for us the first time.
Well, it went great for me.
Liam
won.
got out scot-free.
Hey, Ryan Gosling's a hot bod too. I could say that.
The thing is,
They're
Ryan
both gonna be
Gosling,
both
Ryan
Okay.
Gosling, Margot
His-
Robbie,
Ryan Gosling's age is starting to show.
and Emma Watson are all hot people. They are all hot.
Are you being facetious?
No. I am. I'm saying that they're all hot. I'm saying that that wasn't the full take. The full take is that for a character who embodies beauty like Belle, I figured they would they would choose a girl and try to, again, we even made the point a little later that it might not have even just been her, but maybe the way that she was used in the movie, she just looked very plain.
Hey, you brought it up again.
Okay. Anyways, so
You brought
that's
it up
getting
again.
me
I
off
didn't say
that.
anything about that.
Anyways, so
Do we
just
have?
talking about
I don't
Margot
think.
Robbie.
I feel like there's nothing more to say about this movie. It's just nothing.
I
It's
have.
so
I
garbage.
have.
You
Can
got some
I?
more?
Can I
Yeah.
drop another half-ass research?
Yeah, yeah.
This might not lead us anywhere, but I thought it was interesting. J.M. Barrie was the one who originally created the story of Peter
Finding
Pan.
Neverland.
This is
yeah.
true. This is true.
He based Peter Pan off of his brother,
Okay.
who died at a very young age, and he was quoted as saying, "He will never grow old."
Yeah, that's really sad.
Pretty morose, isn't it?
I mean, it adds depth to the story.
Yeah, you're right. It does. It made me very sad when I read that, but just some interesting back thought.
Did you have anything else to add, or you just said it and you looked at me as if I was going to run with it, pick it up and run?
No, I said it might not lead us anywhere, but I thought it's something the viewers might want to hear.
That was solid. That was good.
Sad.
It is
Sad.
sad.
Maybe that's why. I mean, maybe that's why the story is not very good, because he was just creating it from a really dark place.
Okay, this became one of the best stage plays of the time. Okay, just letting you know.
Take your word for it.
It might-
when Barry
Liam, it
made
might
I
just
won't be
be the
seeing that
adaptation.
on Broadway anytime soon.
Oh my gosh. Okay, but the reason it was good, even in the depiction of the writer in the movie Finding Neverland, is he's like, it's not supposed to be like, it is Neverland. Like, you have to watch it with a creative eye, and maybe this is why I got a little bit more out of it than you guys, because I'm like,
Are you saying I don't have a creative eye?
No, it's because I live in a very creative sphere. Like I produce videos for a living.
Nathanael, he's saying you don't have a creative eye either.
No,
That's what he said. He's on the record.
I'm saying that perhaps I'm a little more creative than you guys, and so when I
Okay.
see Neverland, I'm a little bit more of a child, and so it makes a little bit more sense in my
We can
head.
all agree on that.
So if you've
No,
watched,
what he's saying is he's more immature than us. That's what he's
Greg's
saying.
getting mad.
in a way that might also be true. I think there is a connection between like creativity and a little bit of immaturity. But if you watch the movie Finding Neverland, it's about a screenwrite. What do they call them? A screenwrite?
Screenwriter?
Yeah, but I thought they just
I
called
think
them like
screenwrite.
A playwright?
is
playwright. That's what I was thinking.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's about a playwright.
So creative, can't find the right words.
Anyway.
Womp womp.
Words are hard.
So he's writing a play. He's writing his next big play, but it's taking him forever. And he gets inspiration from these young kids who are super creative. They do imaginary games all the time. And so he starts writing this play about one of them. And obviously, the true story is he writes about his brother who died at a young age. But some of this is inspired from the true story that he makes. He makes this play, and he says we have to get kids to come to the theater to watch it. We can't just have they have to be there with children. So they watch it with half of the seats being filled by kids, and the kids are starting to laugh at the points that you're supposed to laugh at, and the adults start laughing along because they're intrigued by the kids. And the kids kind of understand half the movie because it's in Neverland, and you have to have imagination to let that part be real, because all even the actors in the movie are confused. They're like, wait, so the ones that are acting in the stage play. He's like, I'm a dog as a human. He's like, yes, it's not supposed to. Your imagination is supposed to fill in the blanks. And it's like, wait, Tinkerbell is just a light that's floating around stage, like somebody's gonna be flashing a flashlight. Like, yes, but that's the whole. Like the kids will understand that that's a. And so the kids need to interpret part of it, and the adults need to interpret the deeper themes. And even the movie itself about the director has a lot of very deep themes to it, and also a lot of childish themes. But Peter Pan itself, as the original story, has a lot of both of those as well. And I think that you can connect to some of the childish ones. I think that's why the humor was, in my opinion, better than some of the other movies. I think I laughed more in this one than probably, maybe not Little Mermaid. I think I probably laughed more in Little Mermaid than I did in Beauty and the Beast or Lion King. But I laughed a lot in Peter Pan, who was goofy, and I liked a lot of just the creativity and the way that the kids acted. And I can see the draw to like how the kids are acting, how it's all kind of like a pretend game. This is why like they're doing serious things. When you do those things as a kid, it's like you're a kid. And once you do them as an adult, all of a sudden you're the villain. And so you have all of these people doing the same things, but very clearly the pirates are the bad guys because the pirates are all adults, and you can't do that as an adult. And so as a kid, I feel like you watch it with that creative eye and you get more out of it. And as an adult, you watch it kind of with a different eye. But yes, the live action... It is one of the worst movies I've ever watched. I was trying to think of like a way to soften that, but like no, one of the worst movies. I'm sure there are plenty of worse ones out there, but out of the ones that I've seen, it is down there with some of just the worst. Yeah, I mean, there was just nothing that I can take from it. And that's my problem. Like, I dug into all those other live action ones and was like, hey, they did this. And like, they were at least trying to do this. And there was at least a theme of the movie that carried them through, regardless of whether it was crap. Like Lion King is still the Lion King, even though that was a garbage remake. This one was just like, I didn't even know what they were trying to do. It was so bad.
It's not even a nothing burger. It's a burger that's full of doo-doo.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, there's worse movies out there.
Sure.
But at least, I bet you a lot of those worse movies are at least fun to watch in their badness. This one was
Pain.
not even
Just
like
pain.
fun in that way. It was just like
Right.
just an absolutely uninteresting abomination.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, if you're watching online and you're wondering why you cannot comment, subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, you will be able to comment, interact with us live. We like to respond and talk to our viewers. It adds a lot to the show. And if you are not on YouTube and you're wanting other places to find us, we are on Spotify as well. This is where you can find the mother channel, I guess you could call it, to this. This is
a podcast.
This is Dearly Debated Deep Dives, and we are a branch of Dearly Debated, which is a podcast on Spotify. This is where we kind of go into a little bit of a deeper dive into specific movie or maybe a couple movies, whereas the Dearly Debated podcast on Spotify, we just kind of go over larger groups. And we'll get a few more guests on there. If you want to find us on YouTube, you are here, so you must know where that is, at
But
Dearly
hit that
Debated.
subscribe button.
But please hit that subscribe button. You guys make the channel work. Also, if you want to see more of me and Nathaniel's content, you can go on over to The Kitchen Chemist on YouTube, and I believe we have season 2 coming out.
We
soon.
filmed the
Some
trailer. That was a lot of
some
fun.
exciting stuff.
We did some wacky things. We tasted some truly heinous. But anyways, that'll be up starting in, I believe, first week of September is when the first episodes will drop.
Yeah. So go on over there for some more content. And in the near future on this show, we got some
What's
exciting
next,
things.
boys?
All right,
What's
so
next?
we're keeping our same routine as far as it's going to be 2 weeks from today when the next video comes out, but we will not be doing a live video. We are going to be doing a specialty episode reviewing Oppenheimer.
Shocker.
We are going to see Oppenheimer as a
What
team
did you say?
Oppenheimer.
What did you say?
Oppenheimer.
What did you say?
Going to see Oppenheimer tomorrow. We will pre-record an episode and launch it out on our same time, which will be 2 weeks from today, same time at 8 o'clock. So that one will obviously have spoilers. We haven't even been giving the spoiler tag in any of these episodes so far.
I mean,
Granted,
so
because the movies are
thing
so
is-
old.
But the thing is, and the arguably Peter Pan and Wendy just came out, and Little Mermaid is still in theaters. But you know the plot. We're not spoiling anything. So
Yeah, right. But for this one, obviously, if you haven't seen Oppenheimer, we would encourage you go and see it so you can get something out of our next
It's
episode.
going to be enough time in between to watch.
Yeah.
It's not like we're doing it the next day.
Right,
Like,
right. Like we're gonna give you a couple weeks to get out there and watch it. If you're not excited to go out and see Oppenheimer, I mean, you got problem.
You're missing out.
All right,
Yeah.
let me
You're
tell
missing
you.
out.
So, I'm a chemist, so the whole nuclear physics side fascinates me, and the development of the atomic bomb is fascinating. But what got me really excited for the movie was when I was reading an article and it was like, yeah, he decided to not use any CGI. It's all practical
Zero
effects.
CGI.
And they're showing the test of, so they didn't drop a nuke, obviously. That would have been stupid. Like people were like, did Christopher Nolan drop a nuclear bomb to make this movie?
marketing
He would.
boy.
You know what? I think he would. But no, but he did explode something to recreate that initial test. You know, you've seen the test where it's like the shack just gets obliterated. They did something like they blew something up.
Yeah, you're gonna see some.
It's gonna be
He says
really cool.
It's gonna be one of the most powerful movies ever made. Like,
okay, but directors say a lot of things.
Well, he says it's one of the most important.
I
movies
trust him when he
of our
says stuff,
time.
though, generally.
Liam kind of trusts anybody.
Another bit of half-ass. Here you go. I'm
disagree. I don't
jumping in
trust
with the half-ass
Greta
research.
Gerwig.
I'll repeat this on the Oppenheimer podcast, but he made it. It's the largest possible film you can make for IMAX
Yeah.
because when Interstellar came out, it was longer than any IMAX film before, and so they actually made the reels bigger for him. Like they made it thinner, and now they're like, well, we can't make it any bigger, or it'll be too heavy for the arm that holds the reel. It's 600 pounds of film. The reel is. It's ridiculous.
600.
Yeah, 600 pounds. These reels weigh.
We're going to be rolling up to the movie theater in trench coats and smoking a cigar.
Yes.
And costume.
Yes.
Not sure if that's true.
We
that's
recommend that everyone who goes see Oppenheimer, you need to go smoke a cigar in the movie
In the
theater.
movie
You will be
theaters.
allowed if you say, I'm here to see Oppenheimer.
That's true. They allow it.
That is not true. Don't actually do that.
So again, tune in 2 weeks from now to get our thoughts on Oppenheimer. Watch it in the meantime. We will continue after that with our Disney series. We'll probably, I think it's Liam's pick next.
No, I think it's Nathanael.
Nathanael.
I did Lion King. This one.
The thing is, so
we'll get that. We'll get that on the Oppenheimer.
We'll get the Oppenheimer. So I got some time to think whether I want to do one of the ones I actually want to watch, or whether I want to do the throwaway one like Lady and the Tramp.
Let's
watch
do
a good one.
Yeah, we're all pretty beat up.
Maybe let's just do Aladdin.
Last thoughts on
Let's just
Peter
do
Pan
Aladdin.
before we check out here, Liam.
My last thought is I had to subscribe to Disney Plus to watch this, and I immediately unsubscribed after I watched it out of protest.
Nathaniel.
Again, animated Peter Pan. I think it's inoffensive. It's fun. It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but I'm not in a rush to go back and see it. It's not really my kind of thing. Live action Peter Pan, one of the most miserable experiences I've ever. Just pain, anger, just rage. Wasn't even like numbing like Transformers 4, which just kind of numbed my whole body because it was just so dull.
Yeah.
This one was actively making me angry and spiteful and wanting to throw things. I despise that movie, and everyone who is involved should lose their jobs.
Yeah, I think the original is fun. I would definitely love, again, to experience it how the director wanted. Like, I would love to watch it with a kid and hear them laugh at certain points and just see if that brings a different feel to it. So I feel like I would like to see my kids watch that movie. And it has like a lot of cool themes about growing up we talked about. But yes, live action, probably the least I've ever been able to take from a movie. And that's my favorite thing about watching movies and hearing stories is taking the themes of them. And I was broken. So don't watch it.
Ouch.
All right. Well, until next time, team. Good day of filming. We will see you all in 2 weeks. Oppenheimer, watch it. We
Good
out
night
here.
and good luck. All right, stream's ended.